Negro speaking.
Negro speaking Nihongo.
Oh my god. Okay.
You going full Supreme?
You know.
You guys are ridiculous. Oh my god.
Canceled. Stop.
Well, hey there. Welcome to this episode of the Black Japan podcast. And I am Shadrach. It'd be great if you guys could like introduce yourselves.
I thought he was gonna do it.
No.
Am I not a guest anymore?
I'm
Listen,
CC.
like I said off screen, you're the fourth Power Ranger that comes in every like 3 or 4 episodes to kind of like save the day.
Yay!
So is she the Black Ranger or like?
Well, that's kind of racist, isn't it?
As the most Asian of us all, I get to be the Yellow
but
Ranger.
anyway,
The most Asian girl. Your 23andMe said you were 5% Asian.
It was at least 7.
What? That was a joke.
but okay, if you guys want me to introduce y'all, since you guys want to act a fool, so on the far right, but not politically, we have
Not politically.
not politically. We have Kiara. You already know what she's about, and we have Cece.
Hi.
Yeah, so it's been a while, Cece. What's been going on with you?
Well, the holidays happened.
Oh yeah.
And I got to spend time with really close friends and some family. I was not on the last episode because of, I couldn't make it back to New York on time. But I'm back and I'm here and I'm ready to continue.
Ready to
because
mingle, okay?
I always have fun with this. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Yay! It's our first time meeting, so I'm a little nervous because every time I put something in the group chat, Cece never answers or likes anything I say, and I was like, "Hi,
I'm
everyone."
so sorry.
And she didn't say hi back. And
I
so
was in
I've
the
been-
midst of like some fuckery, but the fuckery is
It's over.
no, but I'm handling it better. I'm handling it much better.
I was like,
good
she
enough.
doesn't like me. and
No,
what
it
do I
wasn't.
do?
Well, also, you made like 3 group chats. I was so confused.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
true.
would,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Look at my phone and and I'd be like, wait. So I thought Kiara said something. I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, that was my fault. Logistics have never been my strong suit.
Okay, cool. I'll let my therapist know that it was a false alarm.
You do that. But actually, this is a great time to get into our topic of the day, and that's all about communication. Because I guess there was some miscommunication or lack thereof between all of us, and it's happy to see that we're having a Dr. Phil moment, even though apparently he's a terrible person. But
Yeah, no, he is.
that's or
He
but-
sent kids
but-
to a child abuse camp, girl. Allegedly.
well, let's not. That's a topic for like a different type of podcast. But today we are here to talk about communication and what that means. Communicating as a foreigner, and I guess up to like a certain point as like a black person in Japanese to Japanese people. And all of us here, I guess we definitely speak at a level of Japanese where we're able to kind of like be self-sustaining and kind of like get on our like own without needing any like translation help in Japan. But one of our viewers kind of like wanted us to talk about how was it, while like living or like being in Japan, kind of like talking with Japanese people and like just like the little quirks and speaking with Japanese people as like a foreigner. But I mean, do you guys have any like, what do you call those, like stories or
Well,
anything like that?
First of all, I would say that the biggest thing that helped me learn Japanese was simply interacting with people as much as I possibly could. Like when I was in college, I decided to go out around the town and I'd go to a bar, just a small like local bar, nothing too fancy, and just try to talk with the locals. And a little bit of liquid courage definitely helps. 1,000%.
Liquid courage.
I'm not trying to encourage any sort of like,
Alcoholism.
substance abuse or anything like that. But, after work or after class, if you are of age, if you are at least 20, because that's the drinking age in Japan, I definitely would recommend going to a local bar, just having a drink, chatting with the bartender, chatting with the people around you. Like that definitely helped me. When I was 21, I found a bar in Ikebukuro that was like, it was just a small place I never would have found on my own. I went there because my friend told me they had good okonomiyaki, and I was like, okay, bet. That's like my favorite food in Japan, period. So I went, and I told the owner, I was like, oh my God, I love okonomiyaki. And then I kept going there so much. I became a regular, made friends with all of the other regulars too, and the owner and his older brother, and I was at his wedding, and it was a lot of fun. But going there after living in Japan for about a year at that point definitely helped improve my Japanese. And at that bar too, nobody else spoke English. So at first it was difficult, like, drinking with them, because I would really try to understand everything people were saying or like their jokes. Sometimes they go over my head, but the longer I stayed, the better I got. Just, it was a very gradual thing. My advice would definitely be just to make friends with people who can't speak any English. Hang out with people who don't speak English, because that's the best way to really improve.
Yeah, because definitely, like, up until now, I've been speaking Japanese for around 8 years. But when I went to Japan, it was only around like 3 or 4 years. But the most I ever learned the Japanese was during that year, almost year and a half, where I was like living in Japan. And like, as you said, just like talking with people who don't speak a lick of English, because I was a part of like a music club, and like nobody there really spoke English. There's like a few people that were like interested and were like actively learning English, but none, for the most part, none of them could like really hold like a long conversation with me. So I was forced to kind of like, speak Japanese only with them, and kind of like text in Japanese often in like the group chat and everything. So yeah, definitely for all of the Japanese learners out there, what you need to do is find somebody, especially if you're living in America, whether it's through like an app or like in person, definitely find somebody that can like speak only in Japanese with you, no matter how awkward it is. Obviously, if you're just not getting your point across, definitely feel free to speak in like English, because the point of, communication is communicating, or the point of language is like communicating. But yeah, but Kiara, what about you? Like, what was it like for you learning Japanese, like initially?
I kind of started learning by accident. I didn't study Japanese with intent. I was into a lot of Japanese pop music, and I watched a lot of Japanese dramas.
Wait, who did you like? What
It
group
all
or
started
artist?
with Utada Hikaru.
Okay,
The
period.
Because I used to play Kingdom Hearts, classic, am I right? I used to play Kingdom Hearts a lot, and I would restart the PlayStation so I could hear the opening song over
My
and over.
sanctuary.
Before that one.
The first Kingdom Hearts,
yeah,
right? Oh.
it was.
Wait, she was in the first Kingdom Hearts?
She did all of them. All of the soundtracks for Kingdom Hearts were
Oh,
sung
okay.
by Utada Hikaru. So I got really into her music, and so I would be singing Japanese songs and repeating Japanese vowels. I think that's the hardest part, is getting the vowel changes. So.
I mean, I feel like when I first studied Japanese, I had already taken Spanish in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure what to do about pronunciation.
Okay.
So I was like, what if I apply the Spanish, like...
Well, that's the
that's-
thing
that's
that I tell
perfect.
people. Like,
And it works,
Japanese is the Spanish.
phonics.
No, Japanese is the Spanish of like the Asian world in terms of like the pronunciation and kind of like general phonetics. So
Because
like,
it does not work with Korean. I tried it with Korean and I was like, oh no, I sound ridiculous. Like, apologies to any Korean people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry that I kind of butchered your language a little bit. Mianeo.
So when I don't have a specific career. Like I said in the last podcast that I was so happy to be a guest on. Thanks for calling me back, guys.
You're welcome.
But I mentioned that I'll do any job that lets me speak Japanese. And so one of my jobs that I do is dialect coaching. And so I spend a lot of time with Japanese speakers who are trying to fix their English pronunciation. And so in that, I spend a lot of time focusing on vowel sounds. And one of the reasons why Spanish speakers have an easy time learning Japanese is because the vowel sounds are nice and round. In English, we have so many different vowel sounds, we don't really know what to place when we see certain things. Like even in like Kiara, right? Kiara, like those are two different A sounds just in the same word. But in Japanese, it will always be A. It'll always be E. It'll always be O.
Wait, is your name not Kiara? Because
I say Kiara. My parents say I say it wrong, and it's pronounced Kiara.
but there's no E.
But there's no E exactly. So by my book, it's Kiara, and in Japanese, Kiara.
Kiara.
You know, which is the same way that a Spanish speaker would say my name. You know, like making the R almost like a L-ish sound.
Yeah.
So Spanish speakers have a better time at Japanese, and Korean speakers have a better time at English than Japanese speakers
that
do.
actually makes a lot more sense
That's
now that I think about
interesting.
it. Because like I've met way more Korean, or I kind of like noticed over the years that
I
like
meet a lot more Koreans who are able
they
to
speak English really good than the
people.
Japanese.
Like even your average Korean person. Also, I think
The
probably
ain't-
through
the-
movies because
yeah.
I've definitely. So when I was in Japan, I remember having like meeting Korean people, or even here, I'll meet a Korean person who maybe not doesn't speak a whole lot of English, like on vacation. And if I swear, if I slip up and like say a swear word, they know they understood all of that, and I'm like, because I had a Korean friend in Japan who spoke no English, and I remember I was talking shit to a friend,
Like you do.
and I was like cursing, and my Korean friend was like laughing the whole time, and I was like, wait a minute, bro, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, damn. But then conversely, my mom watches a bunch of K-dramas and she knows how to swear in
Nice.
Korean.
I love that for her.
Right, but I guess, yeah, I keep telling your mom, don't say that in front of Korean people.
She's like, those are real words with real
She's like,
meanings.
what does this word mean? I'm like, Mom, the subtitles are on. Like, she just cussed that girl out. But anyway, sorry, tangent.
But Korean language has a lot more vowel sounds like English does. And so that's why it's easier for them to copy and paste, like to be able to make the same sounds that we do. They can also end in consonants, right? They can end in a K or a T sound because their own language does that. But with the Japanese, you always have to have that vowel at the end.
Unless it's like
Right. The only consonant is and so that's why McDonald's becomes McDonaldo.
that's why if you want to I'll just think, I don't know, like I feel like when people try to like imitate Japanese just for like a comedic effect, that's like the go-to thing. Similar with like Spanish, actually, just like adding like random vowels to the
Yeah,
end
you
to
put
make
the
it
O at
sound
the
more
end.
exactly. Yeah. Instantly makes it sound Spanish or
You
Chinese
drink
depending on your delivery.
Sake O.
It's like-
There's already a girl.
What?
can't.
What?
but I mean, yeah, for sure. I'm like, especially, yeah. So I would say for kind of, so like I said before, if you're trying to learn Japanese, the most important thing is getting somebody that will speak it with you, that will correct you when you're wrong, and that's somebody that you could just like bounce off kind of like, you know, your ability with, because they'll be able to like correct you. But the thing is that Japanese people are actually terrible with like correcting somebody that's not speaking Japanese. Again, like
Because
it
they
partly
wanna
has
be
to do,
polite.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the culture of being polite.
I mean, I kind of get it. Like when I'm speaking with someone and English is not their first language, depending on the context of the conversation. Like sometimes it's like not like if they're really stressed out or worried about something, I'm not gonna sit up there and nitpick their grammar because it's like they're not trying to hear that right now. But like if they genuinely are making a mistake a lot, I would try to find a way. I would like to try to find a way to help a friend
but
if they wanted help with
yeah.
it. You know, like I get it.
But I feel like Japanese people wouldn't even do that. Like they'll try to piece together, and especially because like Japanese,
They will if you fuck up badly enough.
Oh yeah, okay. Then like I've been fortunate enough not to like really mess up that bad.
Girl,
But like,
you know, okay, this is really embarrassing.
yeah. What happened?
What did you do?
So there was in Saitama in the summer they had this like festival, like a wind chime festival, and I saw an ad for it on the train, and I was like, oh my god, I want to go to the wind chime festival. But wind chime is wait, hang on. Okay, so wind chime is furin, but I said furin.
Fooding.
So I was like, furin matsuri ikitai tte. And like, my boyfriend at the time was like, huh? And I was like, I want to go to the furin matsuri. And he was just like, eh? And I was like, look at the sign. He's like, furin ne? Furin ne? And I was like, yeah, furin. He's like,
Do you want to explain what like fooding means?
So furin is an extramarital affair. I said I wanted to go to I
want to go to the extramarital.
I'm trying to be a side chick. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I'm
I'm trying to cheat.
Give me your cucks. Give me your.
Did you say, what'd you say?
Give me your cucks. Give me.
Oh. No, like, and that's the thing, I sounded ridiculous. So, like, if you make a mistake like that, or, like, you know, I have heard of people, they're talking about chanko nabe, like the hot pot that the sumo wrestlers eat. And they, you know, mess that up and they call it something else. It's like, oh, I want to have nabe.
I mean, we can
instead
say
of
like chinko. I mean, because like the.
Oh, right, I forgot. You know, this is the podcast.
And plus, it's been past
FCC's
like
not gonna
5
come
minutes,
for
so I
us.
feel like it's okay to curse or like
Right.
whatever. But like, yeah, you can like
Episode
really
3,
mess
we're
up that way.
cussing.
Yeah, but that is also okay. Citation 2 or like lesson 2. I don't know, but. With like Japanese, I mean, obviously, if you're like learning, you will like come across this eventually. But there's like a lot of words. Basically, there's like a short vowel pronunciation and then the long vowel pronunciation. So like, you know, Cece's kind of like, you know, example. Like she said "footing" when she just said "fooding." So like. You do have to be careful about that. So especially like if you don't think it matters, especially in like texting, because with like texting you can like kind of like get away, especially if you're just using hiragana to kind of like, you know, talk and shit and stuff like that. Well, I'm talking about bad Daniel, but basically, yeah, definitely be careful for like long vowels versus short vowels, and they're not exactly the same like in like, you know, English long vowels or short vowels. Basically, sometimes you're gonna just have to extend the
Long
vowel
in
that
terms
you're
of,
saying.
like, how long you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
so just be careful about that. But
Sometimes it's just a pause, like the chichaitsu,
yeah, oh yeah.
right? Like you're not even,
Cha-
you just gotta like pause for
Yeah.
a quick second.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that gets me every time.
Yeah, Japanese is definitely a language that focuses on kind of like the little details, like a lot of times.
Or like particles used to really fuck me up.
Oh, they still
Particles
fuck me
still
up.
mess me up,
Oh my
like-
god.
Well, the
Do we
thing is,
wanna
like,
talk about particles?
Particles fuck you up more when you're like, when you're first learning and you aren't using it. Because once you start to use Japanese, it just comes more naturally.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I supposed to use wa or ga or wo or ni?
Oh.
And then what had me really fucked up was I made friends with these Japanese people who were, men do this more than women. These other college students, and they were guys, and they'll just drop the particles altogether. Ashita baitu sorry. Ashita baitu ikutte. And I was like, okay, but like what?
Say it properly.
But that's the fact. No, because
And it's like,
actually,
I'm
Yeah.
failing Japanese because of you. I'm kidding.
no, because I do have a friend who like he's just like very beginner, but he had somebody tell him that his Japanese, like a Japanese person tell him that his Japanese sounds very robotic. And when he told me about the situation, he was using every single particle. But the more you learn Japan, the crazy thing of Japanese is that the more you learn, the more you realize, the less you actually have to use when it comes to grammar. Like you,
So
like it's
time
like it's a
time out.
paradox.
What a particle is, it's kind of like the filler. It's the little words to let you know what is the subject, what is the object of the conversation. So if I were to say watashi wa jimu ni ikimasu, like wa and ni are the two fillers in between the actual like nouns that let you know that I am going to the gym. So it's like words like that.
But the thing with Japanese is that it's such a context dependent language that you can legitimately say watashi wa jimu. And like depending on the context, they'll like, you know, whoever you're talking to will like understand that, oh yeah, you're like going
Or like
to the
gym
gym.
ikimasu.
Yeah,
Gym
like,
ikimasu. A gym
yeah.
iku.
Yeah, gym iku, yeah.
Gym iku.
Yeah. So,
So
like
wa and ga and ni and de.
And you don't
are
even
like
need
so confusing, like
a damn subject.
yeah.
Like that part was, I mean, it you really have to focus on context at that point, because if you say watashi wa for every sentence, it sounds weird.
It sounds
But
robotic
in
and
English,
weird.
you have
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, I'm going to the gym," or like,
You
"I'm
can't say
heading
going
out.
gym.
I'm going right," because it sounds. You just can't have a sentence without a subject in English. It just sounds like weird.
Right.
But one thing I will say is, I remember when I first was in Japan, I was in college. People kept telling me, you know, the best way to learn Japanese is to get a Japanese boyfriend.
They say that
They
all
will
the
That's the
time.
worst.
It's
Listen.
not true.
Listen,
Actually,
I know.
it helped me.
We're-
The only negative side was it made my Japanese more manly, to the point where like I
you
started
sort of use
to-
ore instead of like atashi or like watashi, like ore.
I never went so far as to be like ore or boku, but like I
Well, the thing is that boku has been like at least like in like lyrics, Like a woman
Well, I
use
mean,
like boku all the
I've
time,
only
right?
heard women use boku in songs.
Yeah.
I never heard a woman use it in conversation. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's a woman out there,
Yeah.
you know, doing the damn thing, living her best life, saying boku with everything. But like, I was told that my Japanese became more manly as a result of having or even male Japanese friends, because incidentally, I had lots of friends, men and women in Japan, but for whatever reason, and to this day I don't know why this is, my female friends were more likely to be able to speak English than my male friends. Like I had more female friends who could speak English than male friends who could speak English.
And you know why that's the reason?
Why?
Japanese women are getting more tired culturally of Japanese men, so they're trying to like leave the country, or at least like gaiji hunters and
I
and
have
like
no
stuff like
idea.
that. Listen,
I have no idea. That being
that an
said,
anime?
Listen,
that being
okay,
said,
yeah.
I did avoid the gaijin hunters, because the girls who want to date guys just because they're foreign only want to be friends with you just because you're foreign. Like that, I avoided people like that, because it's like, look, I want someone who likes me because they want to hang out with me, not because they want to brag about having a foreign friend on social media. That being said, incidentally, I did have Japanese friends who could not speak English as well, but more of my female friends were able to speak English, so we would just go back and forth. With the men, I would have to speak Japanese to them, and the guys I dated who spoke no English. So I remember being told at work, you kind of sound like Yankee. And then I remember being told by a Japanese dude who was bilingual, who lived in New York for part of his life, he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but when you speak Japanese, you kind of sound like a girl from the Bronx. And I was like, wait,
Osaka is the Bronx confirmed.
and I was like, wait, so do I talk like Cardi B? Do I sound like Ice Spice?
Do you sound like what's her name? Iwichi?
Oh, her?
Yeah.
I don't know what that girl sound like.
No, but like based off her music, she's also bilingual. Like you guys know who how do you pronounce? I forget.
I know her.
Because it's like
Is it not A-Witch?
yeah, A-Witch. Yeah. I
Right,
think it
because
is.
I'm like, is her name not A-Witch?
No, but I thought it was Awichi. Like I feel like in Japanese, it's like Awichi.
I thought her name was A-Witch.
No, but it's like you would know who she is. But basically, she's a.
Spotify put me on to. She had this one song that I liked, but I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, but basically,
But she's like a mom.
yeah, she's like a mom. But she's a bilingual. So she's from like Okinawa, and she's like a bilingual, Japanese rapper. And she actually was married to like a Jamaican guy.
serviceman?
No, I don't think so. But she was like married
You
to
said
like a
Okinawa,
black
so I
guy.
thought-
Yeah.
Not me stereotyping.
You're
I'm
terrible.
sorry, A-Witch.
I've had the pleasure of
Meeting
meeting
her?
her, seeing her show, and having dinner with her. And a couple
Okay,
of
so
other
then
people
like
in
Oh,
the
is she
industry.
nice?
then like you know more about her, but she is like bilingual, like fully, right? And her husband, was he like Jamaican or like he was like black African American, right?
He definitely was chocolate. I don't know where he was from.
I
though.
mean-
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you
but
talk to him?
Mm-mm.
well,
No,
like he
they're
like
not
died
together.
unfortunately, like he
Yeah.
got killed unfortunately. But that's to
Oh my
say
God,
that like
how?
a witchy, kind of like lived in New York for like a while, and she got her master's or something, right? Like she like studied for like a while based on, I think I saw her like biography like on Spotify. But yeah, girl, if wait, what's up?
Oh no, I didn't want to interrupt you. Wait,
Oh, no,
so
sorry.
She I didn't know all that about her.
She like lived and studied in college in like New York and like stuff like that. So if like anybody is Bronx, it's definitely her.
Wait, so she's a singer who,
Rapper,
sorry,
yeah.
a rapper who.
Lived in America, studied English,
I didn't know she
and
was
also
a widow. I didn't know all that.
yeah. I think it's on her like bio, like on Spotify. Like it's not hard to find. Yeah,
I didn't read the Spotify bio. I think I like looked at her Instagram once and I was like, oh, she's a mom.
yeah.
And I didn't think much of it. She
Yeah.
had this one song that I like streamed a lot. Like
Was like a recent song with her and her gang twerking.
I don't remember like
Her
that
and her
much.
gang.
I
Her
wasn't
gang.
watching the video. I was listening to I had her pulled up on my Spotify because Spotify like put me onto her, and I was like, oh, I like this song, so I liked it, and then I listened to it a lot like in 2019.
Okay, so
So I
that's
remember
like
listening to her a lot, like that one particular song a lot pre-pandemic.
Oh, okay,
And I
yeah.
was like, I can't wait till it gets warmer. I'm gonna party to this song. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah,
Dang.
she's an amazing rapper, and I just love that she's kind of like, I guess, because Japan is weird, where like, you know, the, なんていう、なんか、なんていうの
He's using Japanese filler words.
Yeah.
Everyone, watch out.
yeah. See, I stopped doing that because I looked really ridiculous in the office.
Oh,
My
you heard what she
coworkers
just
were
called
like-
you?
No, no, no.
You call
I'm
me
not
The
calling.
Office? I hate that show now.
No. When I was in the office,
Yeah.
like my coworkers would be like, "What?"
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
the thing. Like the reverse culture shock moving back. First of all, I don't use Japanese anymore.
Yeah.
Like only when I'm around you guys, and that's kind of worrying because I don't want to lose my Japanese. But like I remember when I first moved back, I would be at work, and I would like walk into the office of my direct supervisor's office to talk to him, ask him a question. And normally, like when you walk into an office, you're like "shirei itashimasu" or "shirei shimasu," and like
Imagine that
I would
in
have
like an
to
American
remind
company.
myself, like, don't speak Japanese.
Excuse me.
Don't speak because like he was a normal guy, normal American guy, spoke no Japanese.
That's the new definition of normal. If you're not
Oh my
into
God, shut
Japanese
up. That's
culture,
not
you're
that.
normal.
Yeah,
No,
it's
so,
true.
like,
Yeah.
he was just a guy from Connecticut, spoke no Japanese, was not.
Oh, so he's like extra
Japanese.
normal. He's like double Wonder Bread. That's crazy.
Oh God.
I mean, if you want me to break down his ethnicity, I could, but I'm not going to for his own privacy
Guy
purposes.
from like Connecticut, like I feel like 75% of the time, like
I mean, yeah, but I didn't specify what kind of white he was.
you can neither confirm nor deny.
I didn't specify what kind of white he was.
He's a white guy from Connecticut. That's pretty white. I don't know.
Okay, well maybe his mom was spicy white.
Spicy mayo.
Anyway,
Let's
okay,
go.
anyway,
Anyway.
let's get back on like topic.
But basically,
Yeah.
I would walk into his office and like, in my mind, I would think I would have Japanese words coming out in my mind. But like, I had to pause and like remember to speak to him in Japanese. Meanwhile, he would like be really weirded out by me because I would I would open the door and I'd be like,
Chikai. Kawaii. Mega.
because I was like sitting up here just like, don't speak Japanese, and he would be on the computer like,
She's looking mad
Is everything
intense,
okay?
trying to focus.
and I'm like,
Hi.
yes, I had a question.
Wait, were you like waiting him to like acknowledge you?
No, I was like trying to stop myself from first of all greeting him in Japanese or like "otsukare-sama desu" or like "shirei itashimasu" or "otsukare-sama desu," like those types of
She
things.
had to
right?
change her settings real quick
I had to-
internally.
I had
Said
to
do a system
internally
reboot.
change my settings. I looked fucking ridiculous, and I'll never forget like how weirded out this dude looked. Like he was sitting up here just like, it was like the meme of like the lady, what's her face, like sitting on the couch like.
Oh yeah.
With the lady trying to explain.
And she's just like, and like that was me and my supervisor, and I like felt so ridiculous. Like, and the reverse culture shock really had me fucked up. Like my first few months, like my first 6 months back.
But this actually brings up like a good point, cause like did you ever feel like do you feel like there's like Japanese microaggressions, especially like as a foreign, like when you like say when you say arigato, like and then like a Japanese person's like uwa sugoi nanka sugoi yo ne nanka uwa nanka nihongo jouzu da ne.
Ah, you get hit with
Like,
the Nihongo Jozu.
yeah.
Honestly,
But,
like I just be like arigato.
Oh God.
arigato. I just feel like
Sumita.
And it's like, because in the beginning, it was like, okay, well, I did learn. I put effort into learning Japanese. So, like, a Japanese person telling me my Japanese was good,
yeah, damn right. I am Nihongo Jozu. Thank you for that.
I'd be
I
like,
worked hard.
thank you, because I worked hard for it. But if their focus is like, oh my god, a foreigner speaking Japanese,
Well-
and not what you're saying, then it gets frustrating.
But I
Seiko
feel like
Tonen.
nine out of 10 times, it's like literally the culture, the shock, or because I feel like
I just feel like thank you.
unintentionally.
And then if they keep doubling down,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
"ちょっと
yeah.
聞いてるの?"
Yeah.
Said, bitches, you listening? That's what she
Right,
just said.
like because at that point, like not only because if they put you on the spot, it's like you like kind of throw it back at them, and like if it's like casual drinking setting, it's like whatever. Then like everybody has a laugh about it. Like,
But
I
how
like
was it
to-
for you working in like an office using Japanese? Like, were there like ever those moments like, oh crap, this like foreigner, oh she knows her shit, okay, Okay, like the kind of like the bigotry of like low expectations. Do you ever like feel that?
I mean, honestly, like their expectations for you are on the floor. So if you fuck up,
No, legitimately, that's what I'm saying. It's
So,
just
like,
like
if
learning,
you-
like speaking Japanese. Like it's
right.
like,
but if you fuck up
yeah.
your keigo, they're not gonna get too mad about it. As opposed to
Ooh.
like if you're like a Japanese person, they might hold you to a higher standard
wait,
with that.
but like
But at
Kiara
the
has
same
like a
time-
different opinion. It seems like.
But
What do you
at the
think
same
about
time, like if I fuck up my keigo, it's like, first of all, bitch, I'm not from here. Like that's when I kind of double down. I'm like,
that?
okay,
Why'd
you know
you
what?
guys create two separate languages just for business? I don't understand. Like,
No, because
this-
also it's like I might have gaijin smashed my way through, you know. Like you have to like if you fuck up your keigo and you gaijin smash your way through it, they're less likely to be mad at you about it. But at the same time, even Japanese people struggle with keigo. The one
Like-
thing that frustrated me a lot was I was doing PR, helping like PR targeted towards foreigners. So I was doing the English language stuff. One thing that frustrated me was because there are a lot of Japanese people who struggle with keigo, or young people who struggle with keigo because they're starting to use it for the first time after college in the workplace. Sometimes Japanese people erroneously assume that English is the same way. So like I was working for a luxury brand and I was writing things for the brand, writing copy, writing press releases in English, and I had a supervisor assume that I was not able to write things in English on the high level that the luxury brands that on brands for a high level luxury brand.
Like on some racialism shit.
Well,
no,
to
not
this
even
day-
getting the
to this day, I
Queen's
don't know.
English. You had to like go back to like
Well,
Victorian
actually,
era.
this particular brand,
yeah.
this particular brand,
Is
their
British?
brand standard, it wasn't British, it was
Oh.
American brands, but their brand standard was American English as of 2005. Because no, the thing
What
is,
does that mean? Like before then, they're just like using like straight up Victorian
before
era.
then they were using the Queen's English,
Really?
according to my supervisor.
Color with a U in it.
How
That
dare
being
they?
said, for that particular brand, because when you work for a brand, you work in marketing, you have to understand, you have to really do a deep dive into the brand. So when I was working for this brand, I was writing things for them in English, and I remember my supervisor was like, I talked to my friend and she said you were using too much casual English in this text. And I
Well,
was
who's
like,
her friend?
right, that's what I said. And then I was just like, okay, can you give me an example? She's like, oh, well, like you'd say things like such as, and that's too casual. And I'm like, such as is not casual.
That's the thing with like.
And that's the thing.
yeah.
It's like the assumption that because like if a person's in their 20s, that doesn't mean they're incapable of speaking in a professional manner. So people kind of make that as I have had people assume that that was the case in English. Meanwhile, a bitch is out here code switching in English.
Yeah, right. Because
So-
because like the thing.
And then
of,
a bitch was out there code switching in Japanese once my keigo got better.
Oh yeah.
Level up.
Because the thing with like English, right? Like, when you like study Japanese for a while? Because I did take like a business Japanese course in class. That was the only test that I ever cried after, because it was like so hard. And granted, I didn't study because I was like I was just like so like preoccupied with like other things at that time that I didn't get to study. Like I cried mostly because I felt like I like disappointed or like let down my teacher, because she's like the nicest woman. I know, Joe Sensei. Like she's like the nicest, like, you know, teacher and everything, and she was like super supportive, like everybody, and you know, shit like that. I just felt like I let her down personally, so that's why I felt so bad after like bombing the test. Hey there! Sorry about that. We kind of had some technical difficulties, as in my what happened?
Your camera,
The camera died.
battery.
Yeah, sorry about
Yeah.
that,
Life.
everybody. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, as we were talking about, what were we talking about?
Well, let me circle back a little bit and talk about how, like, the expectations, like, of Japanese people when you speak Japanese. I have had a couple of moments where I was definitely judged for not speaking the correct Japanese.
Okay. That's what I was saying. Not to cut you off, but to definitely cut you off. Yeah, so
Happens every
you know,
time I've been on this
the
podcast.
English, you know, this. Oh no. So about, you know, what's it? This point my teacher and everything. Yeah. So like learning. I was like taking this class with other Japanese people because again, it's not something. Basically, Keigo is like split into like two subcategories, and those subcategories have like the little different tenses and just like unique words. Yeah. So some is a third.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a third. It's crazy.
You're in danger.
You're in danger.
Run.
Like seriously,
Keigo honestly has me fucked up all the time.
No. Do you want me to give you the textbook that I still have, like the business textbook that I still have? But that's to say that so like there's a subcategory of Japanese that could almost be its like own language in of itself because it's like Japanese plus. It's like it's like Japanese 2. Like it's like it's so hard and like that's to say, we take for granted that in like English, I guess like a more formal English is kind of like outdated and or British and how us Americans feel about the British, right guys? How do we feel about the British?
I mean, I love Harry Potter. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about the writer, but I mean it was a huge part of my childhood. They be having their beans on toast and they don't really season their food like that, but they have a large South Asian and West Indian and West African diaspora that helps them.
Yeah, I'm part of that.
Learn how to use their spices.
But where's our reparations? Because I could be getting double reparations from both America and like the UK. So I'm just like waiting.
Them from France and the UK.
Let's go.
Because I'm Jamaican and Senegalese.
You get all three: American, British, American. And French.
No, because like my ancestors weren't slaves in America.
We were born here. Listen. It's cool. They don't have to know.
And it's like
they don't have to know. They don't have to know.
That's none of their business.
On the census, there's not a difference. I mean, there is the Black/African American, but in that case, they still consider the greater Black diaspora a part of like the country. Like, so I'm getting double reparations.
Our listeners with no Black friends aren't gonna notice that this is tongue in cheek. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Wait, who?
When that one comment.
Oh wait. Oh yeah.
Our listeners with no Black friends are not gonna realize that this is 1000% tongue in cheek. So
that's why I just stay quiet.
But anyway, that's to say, when you're learning Japanese, sorry for this huge tangent. When you're learning Japanese, eventually, depending on the level of Japanese that you want to ascend to, you will have to learn, Keigo, which is Japanese 2. So just watch out for that. But let's get back to talking about kind of like if we ever felt any like microaggressions or just kind of like the little funny stories or like anecdotes that we've had in like speaking Japanese to Japanese people in Japan. Because for me personally, like, I've never had anything really come up. Not that I can remember. Like, I was just completely on vibes when I was in Japan. Like, the only thing that I the only story that I have is that legitimately learning Japanese could be a very good proxy for like when you ever travel to like Korea if you don't know Korean, because I was at the airport trying to get back and I wasn't sure if I could like communicate what I wanted to say like in like English, even though like again more than like Japanese people, Koreans understand English more generally. So I kind of like defaulted to like Japanese with this like one attendant and she was able to understand it. So like there you go. If you're ever traveling to Korea and you know enough Japanese, maybe you'll be fine.
There are definitely some like similarities with Korean words and Japanese words. What I realized was if the word is written in kanji, usually the Korean word will be similar in a way to it.
Shokan.
Exactly. Yakyu.
Yeah. Oh, it's the same?
Yaku.
Oh.
And then like
Yakusoku.
Oh, it's the same?
Yeah, yakusoku. Or like, was it? Denkyu, chikyu.
Oh, okay.
Like, because Q, like the ball.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Didn't know
those
that.
words were like similar, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so how do you
I could hack Korean with just using Japanese.
In Korean? What's light bulb in Korean? But then what's earth in Korean? So like, so that, and also the grammar is pretty similar too. There's certain things that like grammatically it's hard to conceptualize in English, But if you
'Cause
understand
English-
Japanese, it makes more sense.
English is like a mess of a language, really. Like it's
Well, I mean,
so.
Japanese and Korean just have very similar
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
grammar. So I was just like, you know what? So if you learn Japanese, Korean will be easier for you. And I remember my Korean friends who came to Japan, they might have studied a little bit in Korea, and then they came to Japan, and I remember watching them pick up. I just
Become
looked
so
at her,
much better than me so quicker.
She picks up Japanese so quickly. I was like, girl. And she's up here just like,
Living her
spouting
best
off
life.
All of this
Yeah.
all of these Japanese words. I was like, we were supposed to be together.
It's like when Peppa Pig found out her friend could whistle and she hung up on her.
I was Peppa Pig in that moment. No, because the gag is I've been living in Japan for years at that point, and she like had done caught up to me. Granted, she already knew English, she already knew Spanish. Like homegirl was Mrs. Worldwide
right there. Okay,
like
yeah.
she truly is goals.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Onni, I see you. Onni, I see you.
I got lucky and started with Keigo because when I started learning Japanese, it wasn't in a school setting. It was in a Japanese
center,
restaurant.
yeah.
So I had to speak Keigo because I was like a maitre d', so I was talking to all of the customers.
Wait, so you were at like a fancy restaurant? Because I feel like
Yeah.
at the restaurant I worked at, like you could just use your everyday Japanese because it's not that sort of like high-end place, but
Right.
it is delicious. Talk 'em in, check it out.
Yeah.
They have the best chicken namba in
Ooh,
New York
I love
City.
a good
but,
chicken
like,
namba.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I worked at this place where you had to speak Keigo. Like, it was mildly fancy.
So
by
was the
UN.
clientele almost only Japanese then? Or
Yeah, and that's why I started working there. I was looking specifically for a
fancy.
place
Oh my
that
god.
hired mostly Japanese people and served mostly Japanese people. So I had the chance
Is
to
this
like,
place still here or has it closed?
the owners have changed, so it's not the
Oh, it's
same.
the same?
This
Okay.
was like a million
Now they
years
let in
ago.
Americans.
It is a little more less ethnic in there.
Say what you really mean, because this is New York City.
They had to hire a lot of white folk, which is fine. But like a lot of the Japanese staff had to like find other jobs because of different reasons.
Oh,
You
okay,
change
yeah.
owners and they change things. It's normal. But I did have a situation where we had a customer in a koshitsu, which is like the private room.
Mhm.
And I went in there and I was year one of Japanese, right? I'm still learning. I was taking classes at a language school. And I went in and this guy asked me if we had something. And I wanted to be cute. I'm working at the front desk of this fancy Japanese restaurant. And he asked me about something. I think he asked if he could make a reservation for another day. And I was like, tekimasu. Which is like, for sure. Like, yeah, you could do that. He looked at me and he said, 俺はお前の友達じゃねえんだよ.
Really? That's so harsh, especially for like a foreigner. Oh my god.
Which
Okay,
is
first of
which
all-
basically means like,
I ain't your
yeah,
fucking friend.
yeah. Like, I ain't your fucking
you wanna-
friend.
Don't make me backsmack you.
Personally, whether we're in Japan, United States, whatever, I cannot stand people who are disrespectful to wait staff. Like, so hearing that story made me like,
Yeah.
excuse you?
Yeah. And I was young. I was like 19, so I was a
Christ,
good
what an
kid. I
asshole.
didn't drink a lot until I started working deeper in the restaurant industry.
She didn't
'cause-
drink at all until she did that.
Yeah.
Until
So
she was
until that
berated.
moment happened.
That's when you started going off the deep end. Oh.
Wow. No,
So,
I'm
like,
sorry.
he had-
that's my biggest like pet peeve.
It was a
I hate
mix.
that.
It was a mixed reaction for me, right? Because my first reaction was terror. I was like, "Oh, moshiwake nai desu. Sumimasen.
Why was he big?
Gomenasai."
Could he
wasn't-
beat your ass?
No,
Well,
it was just scary.
technically,
Imagine like
no.
somebody just like reacting to you like that
I
all of a
just
sudden.
friend. I was.
I
I was
mean,
a little nervous.
maybe I'm just like an old ass bitch, but at this point, I'm like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to?
That was
It's
not
like,
my
first of all,
mindset at the time.
Humble yourself. Well, also, I'm not cut out to be a waitress. I'd be wanting to, because when I did work in hospitality, I was working in the back office.
Mhm.
But I remember, I told my dad, I was like, I'm not cut out for hospitality. He's like,
It's
why?
not for everyone.
It's rough, and I'm like, I know, but like, sometimes I want to tell the customer to go kill themselves.
Oh no!
And my dad.
That's a bad thing. Oh
And
man.
then my dad started laughing. He's
crap.
like, yeah, maybe that's not the industry for you. And I was like, it's not.
But
I
it was.
thought
it
about
was,
being a flight attendant at one point.
Oh, that wouldn't have worked for
It
you,
would
baby.
not have. I would have been like, man, fuck y'all. This plane's
You've
going down. I'm
been-
out.
Man, you have been fighting like wrestling those customers.
So it was for me. My initial reaction was fear, right? Not fear for my life, but like I was unsettled. But then when I think about it, that means that all of my Japanese up to that point was so good that he felt that I should have known better. which is a bit of a compliment when you think about it in that way.
He was an asshole, but he was
He
complimenting
was,
me at
you
the
know
same
what I mean?
time.
Like he was.
We
an asshole.
love the
He was
silver
like-
lining. We love that.
That's how I had to look back at it, because like he wouldn't have said that if he didn't think that I knew the difference. And like, yeah, was a new word for me, and I knew it was casual, but I thought it could still work. I knew that, and it was kind of cool that he was like, "Bitch, you know better," and I didn't like the way he went about it, but still, it was kind of like, "Oh, thanks."
It's always like the old men who just be like trying you.
yeah,
Like the older men will sit up here and be like, because you know they feel like they can be like that at that point.
I would say if anyone,
They're
if
used to
there's
not being checked.
right, if there's a one like fairy tale that goes around a lot, it's like Japanese people in general, and I hate generalizations because I'm not your average black kid. I don't think anyone is an average black kid anymore. I think we're so like diverse on what black really means right now.
Well, yeah, no group is a monolith.
So I liked the expectation
That's
that my Japanese.
to say to all you guys trying to go to Japan and get that perfect kawaii Japanese
They're
girl.
not all that
Stop.
sweet.
Stop now.
Yeah, like they
Think
have.
about all you've done up to this point. Think about all your life choices, and turn around. Repent.
I mean, honestly, just think about every single woman you know in the United States. Like a varied group of women with different personalities,
Right.
different interests. You're gonna find
wait,
the
wait,
same
wait,
shit
wait.
in
So
Japan.
you're telling me that not like all Japanese girls are willing to dress up in maid costumes and cat ears for me?
Sorry, dog.
the ones?
Shit.
Well, I mean, if you pay them
Man.
and that's their job, but if it's a regular
Regular
woman
schmegular, yeah.
who's getting on the train, going to work, going to her job, coming home, like she's gonna be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you crazy?"
Oh.
So it was a nice reminder that not all mild-mannered is a word you hear a lot of people like describe Japanese people as. Like they're really mild-mannered, they're so calm, they're so polite. But you find that one salaryman and you will open your
Is
eyes.
that enough? Yeah.
You know, you'll open your eyes to that kind of stuff. Another weird like thing that happened to me, circling back to like Japanese pronunciation mistakes. It was the same restaurant, and I went into the private room. It was a different guest this time, and he asked me for kareshi, is what I heard. I said,
Kareshi?
I heard,
Karashi.
yeah, I heard
Kareshi.
"Simasen, kareshi arimasu," and I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Kareshi," and I was like, "Kareshi?" And he said "arimasu," so I was like, "Well, kareshi is a human living thing, so you wouldn't use arimasu, you would
the
use
imasu,
imasu."
right.
So, but wait, the owner of this restaurant also owns a cabaret club, which is like a hostess club. So I was like,
She's like, oh no, sir.
I was like, wait,
wrong
yeah.
establishment.
I was like,
bye."
I was still new. So I was like, there is a chance that we sell boyfriends here, and I just don't know it yet. So kareshi.
No, because the thing is, like, if you say karashi masuka, like, or karashi yuru, it's
So
like,
I was
if they're asking
confused.
if you're
But, like,
single,
did-
they're
so-
asking you, like,
so did-
do you have a boyfriend?
So did like he say that, or did you just like mishear that?
So I'm like,
But you don't
Let-
use aru with boyfriends. You use iru because they're alive.
so I was confused, okay? I'm like, shosho omachi kudasai, which is the Keigo way of saying chotomate, like 1 moment please.
Hold
and
up.
I went back to go to my senpai, my boss, and I was like, the guy in room 1 is asking
a
about
boyfriend,
Yeah, he's
that-
asking for a boyfriend. Like his tone didn't suggest he was asking if I had one personally, but like if he could get one. Like that was the tone. Like he wanted something, and he was like, "What, kareshi?" I was like, "Yeah, man, go talk to this guy." So my Japanese senpai goes into the place. He goes into the private room, and he comes back and he says, "Kareshi janakute karashi," which is mustard. He was asking if we had mustard.
No, I'm dead.
So that's
No,
one of
because,
my
like-
pronunciation issues.
Because the thing is, like, karashi iru is like a question a guy will ask to figure out if you're single. Like, because iru, imaska, like imasu, is like for living sentient beings, but aru is for things that are not alive. So I remember when I was like, I was trying to make a sentence in my Japanese class when I was in college, and I was like, Yamanashi ken ni wa yama ga takusan imasu, and then my teacher was like, no, the mountains are not alive. And I was like,
Pocahontas begs to differ.
Buddhism begs to differ, right?
right.
Shintoism begs to differ. No,
I was-
it would be
she's like-
Shintoism that begs to differ.
Like, it was
yeah.
like giving, like, the hills have eyes. But, like, I had to really get used to that. They're like, if it's alive, you use iru. If it's not alive, it's aru. And I was like, what about ghosts? And they're like, iru. And I was like, what the fuck?
But they're not alive.
No, but like ghosts are like.
But it's like the soul. If there's a
Yeah,
soul,
exactly. If there's a soul in it, I
soul
guess.
in it, right?
Yeah.
I guess plants are not sentient. Whatever.
Nah.
Anyway,
Sorry, babies.
sorry, baby.
All plants go to hell.
Oh,
Damn.
no.
But anyway, but that was like a thing I had to get used to. But I guess like I remember I had a health check for my job. You know, regularly we'd go in for health checks and the company would pay for it. And I remember going in one day and they'll do, you know, they'll check your hearing, your eyesight, your height, your weight, your BMI.
Rude
all
of them,
that.
actually.
I mean, honestly, I didn't really care. I was just like, cool, let's do this health check. I'm not paying for it, so I do not care. The company pays for it. And so when I went in for the health check, there's a part of it where they're checking your urine to make sure you're healthy or whatever. I don't really know what
Make
it
sure you
was.
don't got the Oh, sorry about that.
Got
Make
the
sure you
what?
don't got the diabetes.
Oh yeah, the diabetes. If you're pissing syrup, that's an issue. So,
Apparently, in the past, they used to just drink the pee to like see if you had like diabetes or
I
not.
heard that they just poured it on the ground, and if ants came, that means you had diabetes. But
Well,
anyway,
that's like way less fun.
Wow.
yeah, the ancient Egyptians, they were doing the damn thing. Oh, is it? It's empty. It's not.
He sounds so
She sounded so
disappointed.
sad. Oh,
Anyway, sorry.
Wait, did you like MJ at all? What if she wanted more? What the hell?
Do you want more?
it's too late now.
Anyway,
Oh my god. Oh my.
so I
Okay,
haven't
so you're
eaten
at the
since
doctor.
breakfast. I have not eaten anything since breakfast. Anyway, so I'm at the doctor, and then I have all these checks, and then the nurse, she gives me like a little. She's handing me a paper cup, and she's telling me that they're going to do a urine test. And the Japanese word for urine test is nyokensa. So I was just like, I didn't know that word. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what urine was in Japanese at all. But when you're in a clinic, the nurse is walking with you to the restroom, and she's holding a paper cup. You can, use the context clues to understand what's happening. So like, she's like talking about like the urine test, and then she stops and it's like, oh, I'm talking to a foreigner. And so she's just like, oshiko, which literally means like pee.
Pee
Like
cup.
pee-pee.
You know, like you would say to like a kid, like
So
do you
a
have
child.
to use
You
have to go pee
in this
pee?
cup. And then I stopped and I looked at her just like, and I think she interpreted my like as me not understanding. So then she repeated herself and it's like, oshiko. And then like every other person, like all these other people who were there for their health checks, for their works in their suits, were like looking at me like, they all turned around like, who was shouting about pee? And it was so embarrassing. And I'm like, yeah, no, I understand. Thank you so much, right? Like I was kind of shook. It's things like that. It's like, I respect her consideration in trying to make it understandable for me, but also like she embarrassed the hell out of me. And
Because
I was
that's
like,
the thing, right? Because basically, like, if you ever feel like, if you ever feel like whatever Japanese person you're talking to is kind of like, being like condescending to you, I can assure you that it's not the case. They're just trying to be as considerate as possible. And to Americans, especially, that could come off as like condescending, especially if you're not more familiar with some aspects of kind of like Japanese culture. But I can assure you that like there's no reason to assume that like this person that's like maybe trying to dumb down things for you is doing it because they think you're too stupid. Because Japanese people admit themselves that like, yeah, Japanese is like a hard language. And like, yeah, so it could be hard, even for like, again, Japanese people to like learn like, keigo, to learn an important part of their like own language. So never assume that like somebody that may be dubbing down Japanese for you is doing it because they think you're stupid. They're just trying to be considerate.
Yeah, I think a prime example of Japanese people also having difficulties with the different levels of Japanese is Chainsaw Man. Are any of you guys watching that?
Okay, yeah.
Like the way
Wait.
the
Are you
way
not watching or reading Chainsaw Man?
what is that?
It's an anime.
You're
But-
only like you just turned 30. Why are you acting this old?
I don't fucking know. The thing is, when
And
you're 30,
that's okay.
you stop giving a fuck about things. That's like when that salaryman had you fucked up. I was like, bitch, where he at? I would cuss him out. Because
Cece
like
got my back.
25-year-old me would have been like, but like 30-year-old me is like, I wish the fuck. But
So in Chainsaw Man,
wait, Kiara,
what's up?
how old are you?
Old enough to know that you should have poured me the glass first before you poured yourself.
Yeah.
I'm 32.
Respect your
You
elders.
literally
Respect your
said I'm
senpais.
good several times.
Yeah, because
Okay,
you're
well,
trying to be
first of all,
polite about
senpai.
it. You coming here
First
all
of
like
all,
drunken.
senpai.
I was drunk when I got here. It's all good.
Okay, good, because
Oh, you were drinking a Mika?
well, I literally just had like a third of a frozen pizza for breakfast and a couple of those
I
Tate's
love
cookies.
pizza. But anyway, Denji in Chainsaw Man, he's Japanese, but the way he talks is so slangy. Like he speaks like, yeah, dog, we gonna go over here and we gonna, yeah, man, I'm looking for some bitches. You know what I mean?
Not
Like
Japanese AAVE.
he's definitely he's
I
so
wouldn't say
slangy.
that because considering the way Denji was raised, he basically raised himself. Like he basically
true.
lived in a shack. So you know,
Like
if
how
you're trying to be
Naruto,
woke
like,
about
raised
it,
himself?
are you comparing AAVE to shack talk to
No, 'cause
low
when you think about it-
the shack talk, huh?
Wait.
She hasn't watched it, so we won't hold it against her.
Yeah.
But it's interesting
He
because
speaks in
like,
a very rough Japanese because he never went to school, so he
So
never
he
was
talks
able
like
a slave. Yes.
no, stop.
Yes,
That's not what I'm saying.
No, to be honest, it is basically. If you want to talk about AEVE, because he didn't have any like formal education and like
true.
no slaves
0 to
didn't have
100.
formal education, so he talked.
well, Frederick Douglass used to
Wait.
like
A
Frederick
friend of
Douglass used to like trade bread to like the poor white kids to learn how to read. Isn't that how it works?
I wouldn't know. I didn't live during that time, thank God.
This went so far left.
I'll give you it. It's so funny. I'll give you it. But anyway, Kiara, your point being that Denji...
My point being that Denji, being a Japanese native, you know, had difficulties switching to Keigo. Like you see Aki speaking to him a lot, like Keigo wa, you know, like, you know. So it's. I just wanted to point out that like it's common that not everyone can get on the Keigo level.
I'm sorry, but when you said slaves, that had me shook.
Listen, that's the like I said before, that's the freedom that we have compared to like other podcasts.
I'm so embarrassed
We
to
can
watch
say the
this back.
N-word. It's beautiful. We have so much freedom. It's amazing. This is what America is all
Not
about,
us
isn't
saying
it?
the N-word in mixed company.
Hey, well, I mean, you're black, I'm black, she's black, we're all
Rila
black
Kuma,
here.
cover your ears.
he is black by
brown.
association. He's a light skin. Like I have a brother
Oh my
who's
God.
same like color as him.
He's high yellow.
Yeah. So he's like light skin. It's cool. It's cool.
That's a red
It's
bomb.
cool. But what I was gonna say. This has been
Tia was
amazing.
here. No, for real.
Huh?
I wish Tia was here.
Tia would have been right on board with me.
I know.
But
I'm also
yeah.
bringing liquor next time. I don't even care.
Please do.
Yay.
But you know, yeah, Denji for sure. You know, because he wasn't raised, I guess proper. Speaks a very broken Japanese, and like the
So
thing,
he lived by himself as a child?
Yeah.
you have to watch it to understand. But basically, that's
it's
it.
a story.
No, is it like how in Naruto he lived by himself?
No, it's a bit different. No, it's a bit different.
Because that
Listen,
was always a plot hole for me. Because it's like if your mom and dad die right after you're born, and you're always living by yourself and no one's raising you, who the fuck was either giving you formula or breastfeeding you and
Well-
changing your diapers?
no, well, he was a.
Did they explain that? Because
His dad died when he was like 6. So since
Okay,
he was
good, 'cause
6,
I honestly
like it was
stopped
like a
reading that
baby,
manga
just
at a
like
certain point.
changing his own diapers and like shit like that.
I stopped reading after a certain point. I'm so sorry, Kishimoto Sensei. That's not your fault. That's my fault for forgetting to read it regularly.
But as as I was trying to say, yeah. So going back to the main topic, right? Okay,
There was a
let's,
main
give
topic?
yeah, I think there is. I don't know at this point. But that is to say, I mean, what advice do you guys? Let's end it off here. What advice we could talk about advice to give to people that are learning Japanese?
Watch my YouTube video on this exact topic.
Not
Kiara
this bitch
speaks
with the plug.
Japanese. Advice on learning Japanese. I think what you both said was true. Like, find people who are kind enough to speak to you in Japanese, but also the power of alcohol. I think one of the big reasons that I speak Japanese so fluently is because I learned in a
Because
working
you're drunk
setting.
when you speak it. Yeah.
You know, like we would finish work and then we would drink. And I feel like if you're too young to drink, then you can't do this. But it does definitely help you realize that, like, it gets you back into baby mode. You remember when you were a kid and
Google
you
Gaga,
knew
yeah.
what you wanted?
Yeah.
And you would say whatever,
Like,
you
have
would
a
use
filter.
whatever you had
Yeah.
to get what you needed. And if you had to point and be like, apple, toy, like you'd fucking do it. That's why kids learn languages so quickly, because they don't have those inhibitions of being embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Just use what you got, make mistakes, and level up. Is my biggest piece. And be drunk.
And be drunk, yeah. What about you, Cece?
Honestly, try to immerse yourself as best you can with people who cannot speak your native language, because then you have no choice but to speak their language around them. So when you want to hang out with your friends, you want to communicate. If you can't contribute to the conversation, listen as much as you possibly can, and eventually you'll pick up on it.
And if you're in the city, I don't like hearing city kids use the excuse of like, well, I'm not in Japan right now. I'm in New York City, so I'm blessed. If I was in the boondocks, I couldn't have done this, but I moved out of my parents' house, moved in with a Japanese roommate, worked with Japanese coworkers, and drank at Japanese bars.
All you have to do is
Wait,
be
where
Kiara.
are the Japanese bars?
We gonna talk about that later, baby. Let's go.
No, because for real, my Japanese is going to shit right now.
Let's practice. We'll find places to practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say Kiara is definitely right. And if you're in New York, the best resource you can use to find Japanese speakers is like Meetup. There's this meetup group called J-Kuru. So J-Kuru. We could talk about it after. Yes, it is that
No,
J-Kuru.
I did not hear about this until literally just now.
Oh, you didn't know? Oh,
No, like I don't. Like I was actually about to ask you guys.
Well, they're gonna meet up tomorrow if you want to go, but I'm gonna be here tomorrow actually with friends from J-Kuru, like doing like another party. We could talk about it after. But yeah, definitely like in like New York City, and I guess like in major cities, there is like definitely gonna be like
A pocket of culture that you can dip yourself into.
yeah, or just like a meetup group with like Japanese people and stuff like
No, because
that.
every Japanese person I meet in New York, their English is amazing. So they
You just default to English.
yeah.
Well, like I mean,
I have one Japanese friend where like if I switch to Japanese, he's cool with it, but I haven't talked to him in like a long ass time.
Well, me and my roommate, we had a rule where she would speak to me in English and I would have to respond in Japanese because we both had a goal. She wanted to
and
learn
that's something
English.
good to do if you're like dating a Japanese person. Just like do that sort of thing. I speak to you in English, reply in Japanese, and vice versa. That could be a great way to avoid the
in my
love
case-
curse of learning another language.
In my case, I remember I dated a guy, I had a boyfriend for like 2+ years who did not speak any English. And I remember like when the only time I ever heard him speak English was when my mom came to visit. And like he met her.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know. And then when we fought, it was like it was like, you know, straight up I had to learn how to fight in Japanese.
When I get angry in Japanese, I go directly to Kansai Ben because my roommate was from Kansai.
I stick with like, you know, Tokyo dialect. I just because I don't speak Kansai. I never lived in Western Japan. I only visited.
Right.
So like when I got angry, I would just be like straight up like but in Japanese. And then after that, I dated a guy who was bilingual. So you know when I got angry,
Curse him out in
and I'm like, right, because if I swear in English, you know what I'm saying.
giving the Brooklyn beatdown.
I'm not even from Brooklyn. Like,
It doesn't matter.
I moved to Brooklyn at 28. Like I'm not.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome home. But yeah, I would say that. Oh yes, I was just saying, yeah, definitely find those groups because Hello Talk, Meetup, groups like that. They will be your best shot at finding places and stuff like that.
Helps you practice speaking.
I do not know.
There's stuff.
No, but the thing
I don't
is
know
that
why you came back from Japan and
because
felt like you could never
for
speak
like
Japanese
10
again.
years almost, she was in Japan, so she was like living it. She was like walking the walk. But we're just posers.
We're-
I
We're
literally
just
just came
posers.
back because of career shit.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, look, I'm trying to move up my career, and then I was just like, hopefully I can, continue with my Japanese, but it just has not been a reality for
We're
me.
gonna help you.
Don't worry, we'll get you back home.
we'll get back home to
We'll get you
Japan.
a car next shower.
But yeah, yeah. So like, there's like resources like that, and I would say just take it easy. I would say, based on my personal experience, like in terms of like textbooks, the Genki textbooks are like.
I read Genki when I was
exactly, yeah. They're like
Takashi and Mary?
Yeah, bro. I hope they end up marrying each other.
No, they break up at the end of Genki too.
Way to spoil it.
Wow.
Oh, that one.
No, they did. Mary
I
goes back
didn't
to
know that.
America, and like
Yeah.
Takashi's like, "I'll never forget you," and then Mary just doesn't fucking respond. She gets on the plane.
I didn't know that Genki had a whole soap opera.
Yeah, because
No, but all the bad stuff happens to John, the Chinese guy. Like he gets robbed in one episode. In not episode.
Again, this is why
but
Genki is so good because it has like a whole story going through.
He gets groped on the train, girl.
He gets groped.
Yes.
A guy getting groped.
Yeah.
Poor John.
Whoa, this is spicy. I did not know about that. So yeah, so essentially
And he
the
only gets like Valentine's chocolate from his landlord.
Oh, God.
like,
Giri choco.
Giri choco.
Giri choco.
Giri choco. But yeah, so Genki is definitely kind of like the most. It's not the most comprehensive, but I feel like it's so ubiquitous, especially like learning Japanese, and it's like very like you can definitely learn it by yourself and stuff like that. But I would say, yeah, definitely Genki, the Genki books, and like going out to like meetup groups and or Hello Talk. Those are your best bets. But I would say this has been another episode of the Black Japan podcast.
I just downloaded Hello Talk.
Let's go.
Yeah, do it. Let's go.
If you have any questions about learning Japanese or if you have any advice yourself, make sure you leave those in the comments.
And feel free to message us on our own socials.
Hello Talk is not sponsoring us.
Not yet.
Yet.
But yeah, see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. And now we play the intro music. Da, 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 da. Wait, what's like the Jeopardy theme song?
That's where we're going.
They really should have had LeVar Burton be the new Jeopardy host. Or me, I do it.
Wait, who?
LeVar Burton.
Oh,
Reading Rainbow.
Oh,
Take
the
a
OG, yeah.